Jean-Hervé, hello.
Hello, Julian. Julian, I've just heard you are a father. You just, you just became a
No.
baby.
Not yet, but it could be this interview could be interrupted any minute by someone storming in here and dragging me to the hospital. Okay. But any minute we're waiting for the baby to arrive. That's why you see that this used to be my office space, what you see in the background, but now I have like the cradle over there and stuff, and little. I don't know if you see it. There's like a little Prince rattle. And
yes. Yes. Can I use it for the next concert?
Of course you can. Yeah,
okay.
That's one of the instruments that you feel comfortable at. Do you play a lot of percussions?
No, not really. What I'm looking for is a pregnant woman. That would be for the concert we are planning to play a piece called a concerto for cement mixer and pregnant woman. So I have obviously my cement mixer. I've been having it for years and enjoying it for years, but it's not always easy to find a pregnant woman who would be willing to go on stage and do nothing, actually just sit, be pregnant.
Yeah, well, the problem is that by then she won't, hopefully she won't be pregnant anymore. So something I can't rent her out.
Last time I had the pleasure and the luck to have my daughter. She was pregnant of one of my grandchildren, and that was perfect timing. She was 6-7 months. So it was really rund, and rund ist schön.
I wanted to ask you, go with you, not just back to 1973 when Faust 4 came out, but even before that. I read somewhere that even before you were in Nucleus, your first band with some of the members of Faust, you were basically a traveling man, right? You had like these wonder years where you traveled the US and Europe and everywhere. And I was just wondering, like, where exactly did you hobo style?
Well, Julian, you're bringing up back memories long time ago now. Okay, so yes, I was a beatnik. I had my guitar and a sleeping bag, and I traveled Europe. I didn't travel the States. I was a foreign exchange student there, and upstate New York in Schenectady. And this is where I was confronted with literature like the Timothy Leary and these Ginsberg and all these people. Also by the music of Bob Dylan.
Yeah. So I was hoping you would mention Ginsberg, because I have this little Ginsberg puppet right here. It's always been on my desk for years, so that's great.
When I came back to Europe, that's 1968, when I came back to my hometown, I was confused. Let's say my head was quite confused. I was torn between the highly political situation in France, in Europe, in France, 1968, May 68, and the other situation in the States, which was more far away from reality. When I came back to my hometown, I was hit by full political reality, which then I decided to leave, to go on the road, Kerouac, on the road. Mm-hmm. And I did and traveled everywhere. And eventually I landed in Hamburg. And Hamburg is the place where my heart is. It's my hometown. Hamburg is my emotional hometown, I say.
That's so basically you were a full-on beatnik. You read the literature, you listened to the music, you had like this kind of avant-garde mind state even before you were in bands yourself, you would say?
That is correct, yes. I read the literature, of course, but most important for me is that I lived the reality of being for a while outside society. And it's a very inspiring, maybe probably the best years of my life. That's where I learned about people, social relationship, communication. It was extremely positive, intense, sometimes hard, but you're young, so it's easy.
Yeah. So would you say that when you started playing in bands, was it easy for you at the time to find kindred spirits? Like people who shared the same mind state, and was it easy because everyone was kind of on the same vibe or whatever groove?
It was extremely easy. It was free. At the time there was a strong, authentic feeling of free, freedom of in education, freedom in sexual relationships, freedom of expression. So everything was easy. You would come with an idea and somebody would pick it up and add his own idea. I had no difficulties to hook up with Gunther Wüsthof. He just inherited a flat. And at that time, when you had a flat, you would be sure to get a few friends coming up and saying, "Oh, can I crash for a night?" And then, So that's where it all started, anyway, for this one part of Faust, Gunther and Rudolf and myself.
That's fantastic. Like, what's so amazing, like in hindsight to me, because of course I'm born, whatever, like 20 years after the period that you are talking about. Mm-hmm. But what's so inspirational or interesting for me is that you already said you were kind of living outside of society, or like in your own little bubble, like your own little avant-garde countercultural bubble. Mm-hmm. But on the other hand, it was possible for bands like yourself to get a deal within the industry. You didn't have to build up necessarily your own labels. You could get a deal with Polydor for Faust, which was...
It's not us who manage this. If there is one person that must be mentioned, one very important person, it's Uwe Nettelbeck.
Yes.
Uwe Nettelbeck, he is the one who managed the link between the, I would say very roughly, the non-thinking artists, living in their, as you said, in their ideal world, which has very little to do with reality, and Uwe Nettelbeck, who was the man who could understand us, but also would know all how to communicate with the other side of the machine, the industry. Mm. And he discovered us, and then he said, "Look, I like what you're doing. I like your attitude." There were many of us at the time, so we were the lucky one. And he got us this fantastic deal. 1 year, a studio in Wimmer, 7 days a week and 24 hours a day, because some of us lived at nighttime, some of us daytime. So we had this fantastic deal. But it's Uwe who managed this, Uwe Nettelbeck. Yeah. Rest in peace. Yeah.
Yeah. So Uwe Nettelbeck, like you said, a journalist and I guess somewhat of a manager figure for you guys, right?
Uwe Nettelbeck was also a fantastic producer, not only a manager and not only a friend.
The fact that you are not really interacting with other scenes, you are really doing your own thing. You had the time and space to really just focus on your own, early Faust works. Do you think that was beneficial? That was like a good thing for you guys to have, to just focus on something, create something that you thought were entirely new?
Yes, I would say yes is the real answer. Yeah, if we would have been diverted by other influences like bars and women bars, colleagues coming to play, jam, all this, we would not have the time maybe to really to focus on what we were doing. It takes, making music is doing nothing a long time, as long as it takes to feel the vibes from above and let them go through you. So that there is also, you have to practice on this, which we never did, and I think Faust will never practice. I apologize. So, but we did take the time to let inspiration come to us, and that's very important.
Basically, there are only a few recordings, like a few years, that really produced recordings in that group that you just described, in the early 70s at least. So, of course, you have the Faust tapes and the first Faust record you have so far. And then all of a sudden, that's the one that we also want to talk about today, because
that's Faust 4, isn't it?
That's Faust 4. That's
Yes.
Faust 4.
Yes, yes.
First pressing. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's said that you basically recorded this in England, but some of the music stemmed from different recordings, from Wimmer and other recordings. Is that correct?
There is a period of transition which overlapped the time where we were kicked out of Polydor. Now and went into Virgin Records. So in Polydor we had the Wimmer situation where we recorded basically, I would say 2 years, something like this. So we recorded a lot, had a lot of material. We recorded the Faust Clear, the first one, and then we recorded the Faust So Far. And we also, in between, we had loads of tapes. Now, when we were kicked out of Polydor, or we can say when we left Polydor, but we were kicked out. That's no. Uwe Nettelbeck found Virgin, discovered Virgin. So we went to Virgin and took all the tapes we had from Wimmer and offered to Richard Branson this finished product of Faust tapes. And then Richard said, okay, let's now make a new production. And we went to a studio called The Manor in Chipton on Cherwell, which is somewhere around Oxford.
Have you met Richard Branson?
Oh, yes, of course, yeah. Well, he was, you must, I know now he's a big man with a lot of money. I don't think anybody can, it's not easy to get close to him, I would say. But at the time, he was just, yes, of course, I saw him every day. He bought me a guitar and yes, he had, the office of Virgin was in Portobello Road, yeah. And there was also, what was his name, Richard Branson and Simon Draper. He was he was more into music. Richard was into business. They had beautiful secretaries there, and it was fun, plenty of dope and fun.
Faust 4 came out in 1973. I think the same year that your record with Tony Conrad, for example, came out. How did you feel the record was perceived in the moment that it was released?
Nowadays, today, the perception of Faust 4 is much greater, much higher, more positive, more enthusiastic than it was in the days. I think Faust 4 in the 1973 was accepted, was listened to and appreciated by a smaller audience as it is now.
It seems like you've created a timeless aesthetic with this album. Do you have any idea in hindsight? Because you never know when you're in the moment, when you're creating. But do you have any idea why people keep coming back to this record?
People, 1973, were not quite ready to listen to what was happening. The broader audience is motivated by radio and other media, and their mind is prepared to accept more standard things. Now, when you come up with something provocative, something ahead of time, it's not many people that are willing or able to absorb this and find it good or bad, but have a solid opinion about it. So it takes a while from the general acceptance to develop. They've heard this music over and over and over, and then they don't think it's a weirdo music. It's we hear it on the radio, so it must be normal. Let's have a second listen.
Do you remember what Draper and Branson thought of it?
We got kicked out, so I don't know. I don't know. They want, but I'm sure they were pleased because they wanted to send us on tour. Tingle. They wanted to go play. You must gigs. You must sell your product, and we didn't want to do this. We don't want to do this. So we got kicked out. So I never talked to Richard ever after. Maybe I will one day. That'd be nice, huh?
If they kicked you out of the label for this record, they were clearly on the wrong side of history. So that's on them.
It seems like this. When Polydor kicked us out after Faust Clear, and it's Faust Clear and Faust 4 seems to be album of Faust that are really appreciated. And there are many, wie sagt man das, Raubdruck davon, many pirate
bootlegs,
yeah. many bootlegs all over Japan, Russia, everywhere. So something nice. It must be something nice. And Polydor didn't get it, and Virgin didn't get it either. So
I'm not even sure if Polydor is still around, but Faust is still around in different iterations. So you outlived the music industry, as it were. Yeah. And the music keeps on living. Some people say, and I would semi-agree, that Faust 4 is it has some really pleasurable songwriting elements in there, but it also has the most far-out crazy stuff that Faust has ever done on there. So this is like a mixture of all the extremes that make up the band. I don't know if you would agree or.
I don't know. When you go in a studio, you are inspired. We are not prepared. Faust has long time not be prepared to go in a studio, and I hate this situation of going into a studio and being under pressure. Now you've got 7 days, and we've got to make this and that. So we never accepted or created this situation. So when we started to record the new production that later be called Faust 4, we had a wide scale of things that we wanted to present. Mm-hmm. And again, some of us are more on the song, one piece with a beginning and an end and a few lyrics and this and that. And the others are more, and some others are more on a conceptual approach, a large piece, wobbling from one idea to the other, exploding at time with a strong dynamics. So this is the range that you get between, say, the sad skinhead and krautrock. Sad skinhead being a song with a real song, and krautrock with no words and very conceptual.
Mm-hmm. Did you use the word krautrock was it in an ironic way, or did you just say this is the definition of krautrock? We now do the definition.
There are two questions about krautrock. Who coined the term? Mm-hmm. Another question is, what is krautrock? And another one we are talking about is, why did you call this special piece on Faust 4? Why did you call it krautrock? So the first question is, who coined krautrock? Nobody knows.
Yeah.
My suggestion is it's Simon Draper who did. Now there are people doing some research and everything, so it's not very important. So that's not important. Why did we call that piece krautrock? Because everybody was talking about krautrock and with a tongue in cheek, krautrock. So they didn't take us seriously, the British. It was music from the Krauts, where the Krauts, they can't play music. And so we tried, and the Krauts, they have no humor, no sense of humor. That's also a standard thought by the British people. Mm-hmm. So we say, okay, you call us Krauts, and you say we play kraut rock music, so we are going to kraut rock you. That's the idea behind. We wanted to show, hey, look, we've got also a sense of humor.
Mm-hmm. Fantastic, yeah. And so this record, you know, as I said, like some people think this is like the quintessential hit record by Faust. I would say that so far had also like a lot of hits on there, right? Where do you see Faust 4 in your own canon? Where does it like range? How do you feel about the record?
Maybe I misunderstood you, but anyway, I do not agree with this at all.
Yeah.
Faust has gone, we are 50 years of Faust. So obviously there is this at the beginning, and then we develop, we go through experiences, we have hard times, good times, we change country, so we have this, we make this album. Then we separate, we move around Europe, we go underground in Europe, and then we come up again. And obviously it's many years later, we've had experienced so many different things. Maybe we have children, and all this, life is different. So we make another type, another production. Mm-hmm. And then it goes on like this. Then we're invited, we go to the United States, blah, blah, blah. So there is no essential record of Faust. There is not one production where you say this is Faust.
Yeah, of course, because the idea of trying to make something, like trying to get the essence of something that has been dynamic for over 50 years is a bit of a, you're not winning that game.
Yeah.
I wanted to briefly talk about the importance of the happening, about the spectacle that you put on when you play live, when you do these shows with dancers, with the cement that you were talking about earlier, which really happened, like all these things. You always try to create a different world on stage. That necessarily has to have room for non-perfection, like wacky, crazy stuff happening on the stage. There needs to be a lot of room for improvisation as well. Mm-hmm. So I would wonder if you are a perfectionist, because these things you can't stage. There must be room for improvisation a lot, which and errors and accidents.
I like what you just said. It's you help me better understand what happens in my head when we organize things like this. There must be a lot of precision. I would not say perfection, but perfection. Precision. If you want to comfortably move in a chaos, it must be well organized beforehand. Like if you are talking about cement mixer, dancers, eye running on stage, a drill, power drill, welding, all this, this must work. This must be prepared, organized, put on the right place with a microphone here and something to protect the audience there. So there is a lot of organization, a lot of precision. Maybe that's where the term perfection would come in. Mm-hmm. But then when it happens, when the monster is let loose, then it's of course it's improvisation, chaos.
It's carefully planned chaos then.
Ja, genau.
Okay.
Yes, exactly.
Kontrolliertes Chaos. Okay, I get it. Yeah. So you were actually scheduled to play Gesu again this year before the world fell apart in a way. But of course, you're gonna be performing next year at the next official edition of Gesu. I would assume that you must have already had some planning for the performance, this year, some thought to it. Can you tell me a little bit about what is about to happen next year, or will it just be a secret?
I will disappoint you here at this moment. We have no idea. It's when the time comes, when the stress arrives with, the gig is happening soon. then it seems to me like my brain then starts, really fast, and that's where ideas come, like under pressure, and we don't prepare things too much in advance.
Yes, now I feel much better that I didn't write down any questions for this.
Very good, excellent.
And actually, I can relate to this even more because 5 minutes before we started the interview, I was still grabbing baby things and getting them out of the room because I forgot that we will be on camera, of course. So yeah, that's very relatable. So basically, next year Faust is going to perform Faust 4, I guess, in its entirety.
Yeah.
Maybe
yes.
not.
Oh, sorry. Of course, this is quite new, and this is prepared. Of course. Oh, of course.
Yeah.
I see. Due to the corona, we don't go anywhere. We don't play anywhere. We don't. So it seems like spirit, mind, brain slows down. I had total. I apologize. I had totally. My brain is more set on Bonn, and on the 18th and 19th doing this. So that's where my brain is churning. Yes, we will present Faust 4, which is one of my long time dream, to be able to play on stage one album. But I don't want to play it. I don't want to do a cover of ourselves. I decided to do an interpretation of it, which we already have done in Düsseldorf on the 11th of September 2019, inviting 3 classically educated musicians. It was and the piece was rewritten by Yumi Hara. I went to London and we worked together. We listened to Faust 4 over and over, and we wrote a new version of it. And this is what we are going to present in Utrecht at Le Gesu.
Fantastic. Do you play it as one piece, or do you play it in song sections?
In song section, the way very much the way it is on the album. Except we don't see there is an album, a CD, and this and that, different albums, and they all have different track listings. So
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah, that's what you were going to ask. Yeah. So we. I have listened to all these versions, and with Amaury and Pierre, and Sappi, we decided on another order so that the dynamic is okay for us. But basically, we play all the pieces that are on Faust 4. We play krautrock, we play everything, sad skinhead and a bit of a pain and all this. We play all this, and we have even a few encore.
Fantastic. I'm very much looking forward to that. Before that, you and Sappi and some other friends will be in Bonn, right? Like right next to where I live?
Yes, that's right. We are going to do a concert on the 18th of September, very close now, 10 days, something. And on one day, it will be at the Haus der Geschichte der Bundesrepublik Deutschland. It's a museum and a place where the history of Germany will be told. And that's where my cement mixer will be exposed as an essential piece in the history of music in Germany. That makes me very proud. It was picked up here in Schiphol in a klimatisierte LKW, in a lorry. Yes, a special
climatized truck. Yes.
Yes, with the right temperature and all that. I said, guys, no, this is a rock and roll cement mixer. No, they were well dressed and they took good care of me. I'm very proud. I'm very happy for my cement mixer. It's never been treated that good.
But now I have to ask, how do you as a person feel about the fact, in German you would say Musealisierung, that Faust and the instruments, the things that you made instruments, are now becoming artifacts in the museum context?
I feel good. I really feel good about it. It's man. I mean, it's this cement mixer has been mishandled, maltraité, has been for many years, and it deserves a bit of respect.
Yes, yeah. It needs to be appreciated by the high arts.
Genau. See, people ask me, okay, what kind of music you play? I say, I play strange music because I don't want to talk about it. I say, yeah, but what instrument do you play? I say, okay, I play cement mixer and guitar. And cement mixer? And they start laughing as if it was a joke. And then I talk to them. I tell them my thoughts, my feelings, my what really moves me about the cement mixer, and then they start to understand.
It's the instrument or whatever, like the piece of the tool that represents especially 1970s Germany more than anything else. You know.
Yeah. There you go. That's another argument. What I like very much about the cement mixer, it's this. It's very humble. Demut. It's very humble. Usually it lies outside in the rain and it's all dirty and battered and all this. Now you put some elements, some very fluid elements like sand, water, cement. It's all sort of powder stuff, something fluids anyway, and then it becomes a civilization. You know, the big stories coming up, houses and comfort and fertility, eternity, and all this, and it's round and it turns. It's like a pregnant woman. It's so round, it's so powerful, and yet so humble. So that's what turns me on about cement mixer.
Jean-Hervé, I really appreciate you taking so much time for us. That was really a fantastic conversation.
Okay, thank you for your interest in my art, and I'm really, really looking forward to being at Le Gesu next year.
Fantastic. Thank you, Jean-Hervé.